Children, today I am going to take the 5th chapter, Morphology of Flowering Plants, and the topic is flower, video number 1. In this chapter, we are going to learn 3 plant families, namely Liliaceae, and the plant we are going to dissect is aster lily. This is the picture of aster lily. Second family, Solanaceae. And for this, the specimen we are going to use is Petunia. You'll have seen this Petunia in the garden of our school. And the last family, Fabaceae. For this, we are going to dissect Clitoria, or in Malayalam we say Shangapushpam. So these are the 3 families we are going to study in this chapter. But for this year's syllabus, we have to select any one of the 3. So the family I am selecting is Liliaceae. So once again, this chapter we are going to deal with 3 families, plant families, namely Liliaceae. The specimen we are going to use is aster lily, Solanaceae, Petunia, and Fabaceae clitoria. So before starting off, we have to learn the basic structures of a flower. So flowers may occur singly on a plant, like say hibiscus. It occurs singly on the plant. See, it occurs not like a cluster, it does not occur as a bunch, it occurs singly on the plant. Whereas some flowers occur as a bunch or as a cluster. Such a cluster is known as inflorescence. So what is inflorescence? Technically saying, inflorescence is the arrangement of flowers on a floral axis. I repeat, inflorescence is the arrangement of flowers on a floral axis. Basically, there are 2 types of inflorescence, racemose inflorescence and cymose inflorescence. Racemose inflorescence and cymose inflorescence. Now symbolically I have represented here racemose. You can get the 2 differences from the symbolic representation. Look at the floral axis. See, the center one is the floral axis. Look at the floral axis. In the first case, in racemose inflorescence, the floral axis of unlimited growth, that is, it grows continuously. See, it goes on growing continuously. Whereas in cymose inflorescence, it is of limited growth. See, it got limited and it terminates in a flower, and that too the eldest or the oldest flower. Here I have highlighted one huge flower on top, indicating that is the oldest flower. So the first difference is with reference to the floral axis. Here the floral axis of unlimited growth, it continuously grows. There in cymose inflorescence, the floral axis of limited growth and terminates in a flower. Second difference is the arrangement of the flowers. Here the arrangement of the flowers is acropetal. Meaning of acropetal is the older flowers are seen towards the base, see, and so the circles are big, and as you go up, the younger flowers are born. So if I proceed, I will make the circle smaller and smaller and smaller. This indicates racemose inflorescence, that is, older flowers are found towards the base and younger flowers are found towards the apex. Whereas in cymose inflorescence, the arrangement is called basipetal. Meaning of basipetal is the reverse. Older flowers on the apex and younger flowers towards the base. See, this is so big. The younger flowers, I am going to draw extra lateral flowers. This is going to be smaller. So once again, I will elicit 2 differences from the symbolic representation. First, the floral axis. Here the floral axis is of unlimited growth, that is, it continues, goes on growing, whereas in cymose inflorescence, the floral axis of limited growth and terminates in a flower. Second difference, the arrangement of flowers is acropetal here in racemose. What's the meaning of acropetal arrangement? Older flowers towards the base and younger flowers towards the top. Whereas in cymose inflorescence, it shows basipetal arrangement, meaning older flowers at the top and younger flowers towards the base. Now I have brought two specimens to indicate what inflorescence is this. Can you see which inflorescence is this? This is showing acropetal arrangement. So this is a racemose inflorescence. See, racemose. See, the young flowers are on top. They have not bloomed also. They are in the bud form. So they are on top, and it's on the floral axis of unlimited growth, and the older flowers are at the base. So this is a very good example of racemose inflorescence. Then cymose inflorescence. The typical example is of jasmine. Now I brought in another flower. See, the eldest or the oldest flower, the floral axis ends with a flower, first point, and look, the older flowers are on the top and young flowers are at the base. See, these are young flowers, that's why they are in the bud stage. Clear? This is cymose inflorescence, whereas this is an example of racemose inflorescence. Clear? From the specimen also, from the live specimen also, you can elicit the differences between racemose and cymose. Next aspect, we are going to see the location of the flower. How is the flower located? If they occur singly on the plant, where are they located? So before knowing this, we have to know about the structure of the stem. This is a stem. We know the stem has nodes and internodes. Nodes are the region which gives rise to the leaf. See, I have drawn here on the first node one leaf, second node also I have drawn another leaf, and the third node also I have drawn another leaf. And you know this gap. What is the gap between two nodes called? Internode. That gap is called internode. So nodes are indicated, and the nodes gives rise to the leaves. Now I am going to explain the two buds the stem bears. The stem bears, in red I am indicating a bud at the tip of the stem. This bud is called terminal bud. And bud at the axil of the leaf and the stem. Axil means angle. In maths you have heard angle. Here we use the word axil. It's at the angle between the leaf, petiole and the stem. This bud. See, so if I am drawing it here. So this is the axillary bud. So here also I am drawing axillary bud. So you understood the location of the axillary bud. It lies at the axil between the stem and the leaf petiole. Now we have the two positions of the flowers. If the axillary bud gives rise to a flower, see, the axillary bud is giving rise to a flower. Then what position we say? Axillary position. But if the terminal bud gives rise to a flower, then we say the location is terminal. So there are two locations of the flowers based on which bud gives rise to the flower. If it is the axillary bud that gives rise to the flower, it is known as axillary position, and if the terminal bud gives rise to the flower, it is known as terminal position. We know sunflower is terminal. It is at the tip or the apex of the plant, so it is terminal. Most of the flowers are axillary in position. Clear? Arising from the axillary bud. So this is the picture I have taken. This is showing axillary position. See, axil. Whereas this is showing terminal at the tip of the stem. Clear? So position of the flower, there are two options in the lead: axillary, terminal. Clear? Next. Now we are going to see the parts of a flower. In 10th standard we have learned there are 4 floral whorls. So I am just going to draw the 4 floral whorls. The outer whorl is the sepal. It's green in color. Then comes the petals. Then stamens, the male reproductive organ, and the innermost or middlemost is the carpel or pistil. Clear? The 4 whorls, once again, outer sepal, which is green in color, then petal, stamen, and carpel or pistil. Carpel is a female reproductive organ and stamen is a male reproductive organ. Okay. Now, all these floral whorls are born on a stalk. This stalk is called pedicel. So, the stalk of the flower is called pedicel, and the top of this pedicel is slightly bulged or enlarged. See, I am highlighting it. It's slightly bulged or enlarged. This highlighted region is known as the thalamus or receptacle. Thalamus or receptacle. So, the flowers have a stalk called the pedicel. The tip of the pedicel is slightly bulged or enlarged, on which the 4 floral whorls are aligned. This enlarged portion is known as the thalamus. Then the outer whorl made up of sepals is called the calyx. See, there's the outer whorl made up of sepals. See, the outer whorl made up of sepals. So, all these sepals form the calyx. Then next whorl is the petals. This entire whorl is known as the corolla. Then we have the whorl of stamens and the whorl of carpels. The whorl of stamens is known as ANDROECIUM and the whorl of carpel is known as GYNOECIUM. See, pedicel. Then we have the petals, sepals, then the stamen and the pistil. Clear? Now, one more feature. At the base of the pedicel are leaf-like appendages, small leafy appendages. These are called bracts. See, small leafy-like appendages at the base of they are not leaf. Yes, green like the leaf, but leafy appendages, and they are called the bract. Clear? Now, I told you the male reproductive organ is a stamen and the female reproductive organ is a carpel. The male reproductive organ stamen comprises of 2 parts. The 2 parts are filament and anthelope. And the female reproductive organ consists of 3 parts. It is basically called the carpel or the pistil. It has 3 parts. You will have learned stigma, style and ovary. And we know inside the ovary the ovules are located. Clear? Now we can move to the next slide, which shows the different options of the key. Yes, this is the key for flower. Okay, so we are going to analyze each lead. There are totally 8 leads. First lead is whether the flower, there are 3 options, whether the flower is actinomorphic, zygomorphic or asymmetrical. So, this is the symmetry of the flower. For this, I have another slide. See, now we are going to cut the flower through any plane running through the center. See, this flower, the first case when I am cutting through this plane or the slanting plane or this side from the left to right, any plane I am cutting, I am getting equal halves. So, what are actinomorphic flowers? When we get equal halves, when the flower is cut through any plane passing through the center, are called actinomorphic flowers. Now, look at zygomorphic flowers. Zygomorphic flowers is we get equal right and left halves when cutting through only one plane. Only when I cut through one plane I get equal halves. When I cut through the other plane I am not getting equal halves. So, this is zygomorphic. So, zygomorphic when we get equal halves only when we cut through one plane running through the center, and here we get the right and left equal halves. Okay. Now, asymmetry, as the name suggests, when I cut through any plane running through the center, we do not get equal halves. That is called asymmetry. So, repeat, actinomorphic is the flower can be cut into equal halves when a plane is drawn or when it cuts the flower through any plane running through the center. Whereas zygomorphic, we get equal halves only when we cut it through one plane. that we get right and left equal halves. And at the asymmetry, we do not get equal halves when cut through any plane running through the center. Clear? Now, the representation, the symbolic representation, when we deal with the families, we have to finally end with the floral formula. The representation of actinomorphic is a circle with a cross inside, indicating that we get equal halves when cutting through any plane running through the center. Zygomorphic is indicated like this. Equal halves when cut through one plane, and asymmetry not mentioned because it's not there in your syllabus. The three families, either they are zygomorphic or actinomorphic. Next, going back to the previous slide. Next lead is whether the flower is complete or incomplete. Very simple. Complete flower means it has all the four whorls: calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. I tell you what is calyx. Comprises the sepals. Corolla comprises the petals. Androecium comprises the stamen, and gynoecium comprises the carpels. So, if all four whorls are present, it's called complete. If one of the whorl is absent, it's called incomplete. Then bisexual. Thirdly, bisexual or unisexual. Bisexual, if both the male and female reproductive organs are present, it is bisexual. Whereas unisexual, if the flower comprises only the male reproductive organ or only the female reproductive organ, it is called unisexual. Unisexual, if the flower comprises only the male stamen, it is known as staminate flowers, or if it only comprises carpel, it is known as carpellate flowers. See how it gets the name. That is in the case of unisexual flowers. Most of the flowers are bisexual. See, hibiscus, which is very common, it has both the male and female reproductive organ. Most of the flowers are bisexual. Next, lead pedicellate or sessile. What is the meaning of pedicellate? The flowers which bears pedicel, see hibiscus, it bears a pedicel stalk. So, it is known as pedicellate flower, whereas petunia, it does not have a, see, petunia is a flower that does not have a pedicel. So, it is called sessile. Clear? So, if it has a pedicel, it is called pedicellate. If it lacks a pedicel, it is called sessile flowers. Then, bracteate and abracteate. Previously, I told you about the bract. See, if bract is present, see, if the bract is present, it is called bracteate flower. But in some cases, at the base of the pedicel, bract is absent. Then it is called abracteate. See the option. Bracteate and abracteate. E in front of bracteate. Clear? Next, hypogynous, perigynous and epigynous. This is very, very important. It can be asked for 3 marks. So, I have a separate slide to explain hypogynous, perigynous, epigynous. But before that, we will go to the next option. The number of whorls, the number of members in each whorl. Whether it is trimerous, tetramerous, pentamerous. You are very familiar with the word. Tri means 3, tetra means 4 and penta means 5. Now, count the petals. See, if you count this petal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, this is a pentamerous flower. Now, hibiscus also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, counting the petals, you can understand the number of members in each whorl. It is 5 or multiples of 5, it will be pentamerous. 3 or multiples of 3, it will be trimerous, or if it is 4 or multiples of 4, it is tetramerous. Clear? And color very visible with our eye. You can indicate the color whether we have hibiscus available in different colors, whether it is white or yellow or red. You can indicate the color. Now, as I told you, the 6th lead I am going to show with the next template or with the next slide. Okay. Now, the flowers are classified into hypogynous flowers, perigynous flowers and epigynous flowers based on the position of the ovary. Now, before going into that, I told you the flower has a stalk called the pedicel and the enlarged portion is called the thalamus. Now, look, in the first case, hypogynous, this thalamus is slightly bulged. See, look at the way I drew the thalamus. It's slightly bulged. The cup is slightly bulged. So that the ovary, so I am going to locate the ovary. See, the ovary or the part of the carpel, the ovary is located above this. And the other whorls, that is the stamen. See, look at the stamen is arising from below the ovary. Then petal is rising again below the ovary, and sepal is arising below. Sorry. See, so in the first case, what you must say in hypogynous, actually in simple words you say ovary is having a superior position to the other floral whorls. How you will explain that? The thalamus, look at the structure of the thalamus. The thalamus is slightly bulged. The thalamus is slightly bulged. The ovary is located at the tip of the thalamus, and the other floral whorls, namely the stamen, petal and sepal, arise from below. So, when you look at the position of the ovary in context with the other whorls, how is the position? It is superior to the other whorls. Is hypogynous ovary clear? Next, perigynous ovary. Now, what happens to the thalamus? I have indicated thalamus with black color. So, this is the pedicel. Now, the thalamus is like a shallow cup, not a deep cup, like a shallow cup. In the first case, I told you the thalamus is enlarged or bulged, but here it's like a shallow cup. And in the middle of the cup, what is located? The ovary is located. And the other floral whorls arise from the rim of this cup. See? So, here you explain the thalamus, how it is like a shallow cup in which the ovary is located, and the other floral whorls arises from the rim of the cup. See, this is a rim. From the rim of the cup, the other floral whorls, in such a way that all the whorls lie on the same plane. See, look, all the ovary, stamen, petal and sepal all arise on the same plane. In this case, we say the ovary is half superior, half inferior. Now, the last case, epigynous condition. Again, I am drawing the pedicel. Now, the thalamus is like a deep cup, very deep cup. It has become like a cup that the margin fuses on top. See, look at the thalamus. I am highlighting the thalamus. It's like a deep cup with the margin meeting and fusing on top, and this cup encloses the ovary. See, the ovary is enclosed. So, here we can see the thalamus is like a very deep cup, and this cup encloses the ovary by the margins fusing at the top, and the ovary is located inside this. And the other whorls, the stamen, petal and sepal, arise from above. See, look at the position of the ovary with respect to the other whorls. See, the ovary is inferior in position. It's below the other whorls. All the other whorls are rising above the ovary. So, once again, you have to emphasize 2 points: the shape of the thalamus and the location of the ovary. In the first case, that's hypogynous. The thalamus is bulged, so the ovary is located above, and the other whorls are rising from below, namely the stamen, petal and sepal are rising from below. That is hypogynous, and so in this case we say that the ovary is superior. In the second case, perigynous, the thalamus forms a shallow cup in which the ovary is located, and the other whorls arise from the rim of the cup, such that all the whorls, all the ovary, stamen, petal and the sepal all arise from the same plane. So, we can say the ovary is half inferior, half superior. In the last case, what happens? The thalamus becomes a very deep cup, and it encloses the ovary. Inside this is the ovary and fuse on the top, and the other whorls arise from above, namely the stamen, petal and sepal arise from above. In that case, we can say the ovary is inferior. So, the three technical terms are hypogynous ovary superior, half inferior, half superior perigynous and epigynous, where the ovary is completely inferior in position. Very, very important with the diagrams. So getting back, I have completed all the 8 leads of flower. Calyx and corolla side by side. The reason is that the technical terms are same for both. Now in this picture, see, calyx is indicated, the green is indicated, and this is a corolla. So as I told you, calyx comprises the sepals and corolla comprises the petals. Now the first term coming under calyx, okay, concentrate on calyx, polysepalous. Polysepalous. What is polysepalous? Just 2 words I can say, free sepals. The sepals are free. A polysepalous condition. See, this is polysepalous. The sepals are free. They are not fused. Whereas gamosepalous, see, the sepals are fused like a cup. So you understood the difference? Gamosepalous means the sepals are fused and polysepalous means the sepals are free. So you saw gamo and poly. Poly is yellow, the yellow flower, and gamo is the red hibiscus. Here in hibiscus the sepals are fused like a cup. See, like a cup. If I detach it, see, like a cup. Whereas here it is free, the sepals are free. See, so this condition is called polysepalous and this is called gamosepalous. Similarly, we have with respect to the petals, taking the same case, look at the petals of hibiscus. Is it free or fused? Look at hibiscus, it is free. The petals are free. If the petals are free, it is called polypetalous. But look at this yellow flower, look, the petals are not free. See, they are not free, they are fused. See, they are like a cup, fused. So if I tear only, you can see it is free. So it is fused. So this condition where the petals are fused, it is called gamopetalous, and this condition where the petals are free, it is called polypetalous. So the same example for both. So once again, for calyx, when the sepals are free, it is called polysepalous, and when the sepals are fused, it is called gamosepalous. In the case of corolla, when the petals are free, it is called polypetalous, and when the petals are when the petals are fused, it is called gamopetalous. So remember the name, poly is for free, gamo is for fused, and accordingly the ending. If it's in the case of sepals, give sepalous, in the case of petals, give petalous. Now there's another third option. I gave you calyx, corolla, and now a third option is in the case of another plant where there is no distinction of the sepal and petal. In most of the flowers, it's complete with 4 whorls, there's the calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. But there's one category, there are some categories of plant families where it's incomplete, the flower is incomplete. There is no sepal petal distinction. The sepal and petal gets fused, and that particular member is known as tepal. We know calyx comprises sepals, corolla comprises petals, but there's another family where there's no distinction of sepal and petal. Instead, the sepal and the petal are fused. The lower portion of this member is green and the upper portion is yellow. Clear? But we cannot distinguish, that's the sepal, this is the sepal and this is the petal, it's fused. In that case, this is called the tepal. So you understood what is tepal, and the whorl of tepals is called perianth. So I hope you have understood what is sepal. Sepal is a green, almost all angiosperms have this green appendages. This is This is called the sepal, and that whorl is known as calyx. Then the whorl of this colorful whorl of petals is called corolla. But this case in lily, the example is Liliaceae, there is no separation or distinction between the sepal and the petal. It is one complete member, and that is called the tepal, and that whorl is called perianth. So remember, calyx comprises sepal, corolla comprises petal, and perianth comprises tepal. Only tepal is found in family Liliaceae. When we are going to dissect Liliaceae, I will be showing you with the example of a flower, aster lily. So as of now, and now the terminology is the same. Poly means free, gamo means fuse. So accordingly, if it is calyx, gamosepalous. If it is corolla, gamopetalis. So if it is perianth, gamotepalous. Now talking about the free condition, if the members are free, in this calyx we call polysepalous, this one polypetalis, and this one polytepalous. The word changes. So I will go to that slide. See, this is a case of lily. Have you seen aster lily? And here you can see the coloration. Here the base is greenish. But when you come up the particular appendage, it is off-white in color. Okay, and when you peel it, it is one single whorl. You call it as petal. It is not called petal, because that petal, the lower part is the sepal, which is fused. So, or in other words, I see you, what is a tepal? Sepal petal fuse is called tepal. So this is the tepal. See how many tepals it have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has 6 or 3, multiples of 3. So it's a trimerous flower. So the conditions, the terms used, polytepalous. See, we are going with the same word. Polytepalous means the tepals are free. Gamotepalous means the tepals are fused. Now, the last lead. For all three, there is a last lead. So the first lead is whether it is gamo or poly, and the second lead is the aestivation. What is aestivation? So for that, I will go to a new slide. Aestivation is the arrangement of sepals or tepals or petals on the thalamus. So what is aestivation? Definition for aestivation: arrangement of sepals or petals or tepals on the thalamus. That is called aestivation. Now, with this colorful charts, I am going to show the aestivation. Look at this. How are the three colors arranged? Consider these are the three petals. How it is arranged? It is arranged end to end. See, end to end without overlapping. Such arrangement is called valvate. Clear? What is valvate arrangement? When the petals are arranged end to end without overlapping. That is called valvate arrangement or valvate aestivation. So, next. So, if when you take a cross section, you show valvate like this. See, they have shown you the symbolic. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I can hold only 3, so I am showing with 3. Clear? Mostly it will be with 5 or more, but I can hold only 3, so I am doing with 3. Now look, twisted. Twisted is how you hold a pack of cards when you play cards. You hold it like this way, no? So what is twisted aestivation? One margin is overlapping the other, while the other margin is free. Look at yellow. One is free and the other one is being overlapped. Look at this magenta. One is overlapped, whereas the other margin is free. Then if you talk about this pink, one is overlapped and this is overlapping another. If you talk about this, this is overlapping this. So this is called twisted. So twisted aestivation is how you hold a pack of cards while you play games with cards. See, so one margin overlaps the other. Only one margin overlaps the other, while the other margin is being overlapped. So only one is overlapping the other. Clear? This is twisted. And how it is indicated? See, like this. So the symbolic representation. Only one margin is being overlapped. See, the other is out. Then this is overlapped. The other is out. Then one margin is inside, the other one is outside. One is inside, the other one is inside. Outside. Clear? That is called twisted, or just understand this is twisted. And which is the flower which shows twisted aestivation? Hibiscus. Very clear. Hibiscus shows twisted aestivation. See, twisted. If you notice at the base, you can find it twisted. See, one overlapping the other. Clear? Next aestivation is imbricate aestivation. Imbricate aestivation is, you can see one member completely in. See, this is completely in. I am going to highlight with different colors. One is completely in and one member is completely out. One petal is completely out, one petal is completely in, while the others show twisted. Look at the others. The others, if I give this blue color, look, the others just twisted. See, one overlapping the other. So what is imbricate? One petal is completely in, one petal is completely out, whereas the remaining three petals shows twisted aestivation. What is twisted aestivation? One margin overlapping the other. See, one is overlapping, whereas the other one is out. This is out, this is in. This part is out and this is in. Clear? This is imbricate aestivation. And last aestivation is vexillary aestivation. Vexillary aestivation is found in clitoria. Have you seen this flower? Clitoria. So this shows vexillary aestivation. Vexillary aestivation, if I dissect this clitoria and display the 5 whorls, the large petal called the standard, then 2 petals called the wings, like the wings, and 2 white color called the keel. Clear? Can you see all the whorls? There are 5 whorls, there are 5 petals, sorry. Standard is the large one. It overlaps the 2 wings, that's also violet in color, and the wings overlap the keel. The keel is white in color. See the keel? Clear? This is the keel, and the keel, both the keels are fused. It encloses the ANDROECIUM. Now see the wings and the standard. So that is vexillary aestivation. So what is vexillary aestivation? When we dissect, you have 5 petals. One is the standard, then the standard overlaps 2 lateral petals called the wings, and the wings overlap the white petals called the keel, and the 2 keels are fused. I hope you have understood. When we dissect, you will understand more. Clear? This is vexillary aestivation. Clear? So now I am going to name these aestivations. First aestivation is valvate. So as I indicated, what is valvate aestivation? End to end. They are just petals are arranged end to end. This is called valvate aestivation. Twisted is overlapping. See how you hold the cards. Twisted aestivation. So next one is twisted. Then imbricate. Imbricate aestivation, where you see one petal is totally in, one is totally out, and the remaining 3 are twisted. And last we have the vexillary aestivation. Vexillary aestivation comprise 5 petals, 1 standard which overlaps the wings, and the wings, 2 of them overlap the keel. The keel is very often, it's white in color, and it is fused and it encloses the stamen. Clear? That is vexillary. So the symbolic representation is mandatory, that you study the symbolic representation of the 4 types of aestivation. Next we are moving to the ANDROECIUM, the whorl of the male reproductive organ, the stamen. See, I have given the stamens. See, these are the stamens. Okay, the male reproductive organ. Now you have to count the number of stamens. It varies from flower to flower. You have to count, it's countable, except in shoe flower. See, in hibiscus you can see a number of stamens. Okay, so innumerable number. Okay, now here, so the number by counting you can get it. Now whether it is polyandrous or synandrous, for that you have to understand polyandrous means, see, this is a very good example of polyandrous. See, this is the 1 stamen, this is the 2nd stamen, this is the 3rd stamen. Look at this, they are free, no? Are they free? Are they fused? No, they are free. So it's called polyandrous condition. Synandrous means when the stamen is completely fused. They are fused at the anther and at the filament. So I am going to draw these 3 fused. 1, 2, and 3. And look at the filaments 1, 2, 3. So the three filaments are fused and the 3 anthers are fused. So this is called synandrous condition. So what is synandrous? There we use gamo, now the term changes. It is synandrous. Synandrous means fused stamen. You are fused by the anther and by the filament. They are completely fused into a bundle. Whereas poly, it goes by the same word. Poly means free. Here you can see the stamens are free. Now when it is coming under synandrous, we are having 3 options: monoadelphous, diadelphous and polyadelphous. So once again, when it's coming under synandrous, you have to verify into how many bundles they are clubbed into one bundle. So this is depicting monoadelphous condition. If it is in 2 bundles, see if I draw here 2 bundles, it is called diadelphous. But if it's in more than 2 bundles, it is known as polyadelphous. I hope you have understood that. So first of all, you must understand poly and synandrous. Polyandrous when the stamens are free. This is a very good example, polyandrous. Then synandrous when the stamens are fused. You have to be fused at the anther as well as at the filament. Okay. Now we have 3 options under synandrous. Whether it's monoadelphous means it's fused into a single bundle. See, this is monoadelphous condition. But if there are 2 bundles, it is diadelphous. If it's more than 2 bundles, it is called polyadelphous condition. I hope you have understood that term. Next, epipetalis or epitepalis. This, from this picture you can understand. Look at this picture. Look at the stamens. See, I am highlighting the stamens. And look at the stamen is attached to the, that's why they have shown like a peeled posture. See, it is attached to the petal or attached to the tepal. If it's attached to the, if the stamen is attached to the petal, it's called epipetalis. If the stamen is attached to the tepal, it's called epitepalis. Very simple. So if I am drawing a stamen, if this is attached to the petal, it is called epipetalis. But if it is attached to a tepal, the term changes into epitepalis. Clear? So see, this is the case. See, look at the stamen. It is attached to the petal. See, I detached it. It is attached to the petal. So the stamen is attached to the petal. It's not free. See, I detached from the petal. So it was attached to the petal. The 2 stamens were attached to the petal. So it's called epipetalis condition. If it's attached to the petal, it's called epitepalis condition. Next, intros, extros. 4th lead is intros, extros. See, intros when it's enclosed, when the stamens are enclosed. And I showed you the example of clitoria where the keel encloses the stamen. So the stamen is hidden or enclosed. Whereas look at this. Look at the stamen, well exposed. So this is an extros flower. Look at hibiscus. This is also an example of extros. But look at this. Is this extros or intros? Just verify. Is it extros or intros? This is intros. Where's the stamen? There is stamen, but it is inside the flower. We have to open and detach and check for the stamen. Yeah, the stamen is inside. See, stamen is inside. So this is an example of intros flower, whereas this is an example of extros flower. See, you can see the stamen well exposed. And hibiscus definitely is also extros. Next, basifix, dorsifix, adnate, versatile. This is very simple. This is based on the position of the anther with the filament. We know the structure of a stamen is it has an anther lobe and the filament. Clear? I am going to show the filament with red color. And the anther lobe is shown with white color. Clear? Now you look carefully. This is the first one I drew. The second one again I am drawing. Now look in the first case. Look at the attachment or the fixation of the filament with the anther. How it is fixed at the base. So that is basally fixed. Look at the stalk or the filament. It is attached to the base of the anther. So this is called basally fixed. Now look at adnate. When this filament runs through the anther lobe. See, look, the anther lobe. It is cutting through the anther lobe. The filament is cutting through the anther lobe. Then it is called adnate. Then dorsifixed, when the filament is attached at the dorsal point of the anther. This one is attached at the basal point of the anther. Here it's at the dorsal point. There is a dorsal and ventral point. It is attached at the dorsal point. Then it is known as dorsifixed. And last one is versatile. Versatile, it is fixed like in, have you seen in Liliaceae? It is fixed at one point and the anther lobe will be dangling in the air. Okay, you have seen that, and when we are doing with Liliaceae, I will be showing how it is fixed at one point at equal distance in the center such that the anther lobe will be dangling. Clear? So we have basally fixed, adnate, dorsifixed and versatile. It is based on the fixation of the filament with the anther lobe. So here I am having a diagram of all three. This is basally fixed, adnate, dorsifixed and versatile. Next template, the last template, gynoecium. 3 leads when you observe the flower, and then remaining 3 leads you have to do the dissection to observe it. So the first 3 leads, number of carpels. Now to count the number of carpels, definitely see hibiscus is a very good example. Can you guess the number of carpels without dissecting? To guess the number of carpels, you have to count the stigma. See, at the tip there is a stigma. So count the number of stigma. These are the stigma, the dark red. So the number of stigma you can count is 5. So you can guess the number of carpels are 5 in number. Okay. So most of the flowers you have to look at the tip of the carpel to find out the number of carpels, because in most of the flowers the carpels are fused. So you can't detach the carpel to count the carpels. In that case you look at the tip. Very good example of hibiscus. Look at the tip, the stigma you can count. So you can guess how many carpels are there? 5 carpels. Like you can see bicarpellary when there are 2 lobes, or tricarpellary when there are 3 lobes. Okay. So that you can, by that way you can count the number of carpels. Then next lead is whether it is apocarpus or syncarpus. Now the terms totally different. We are not going with poly or gamma, we are going with the term apo and syn. Apocarpus if it is free, syncarpus if it is fused. See, this is an apocarpus condition. See, this is a typical single carpel flower. Single carpel flower with the following, with the parts. The parts are stigma, style and ovary. This is a single flower, so there is no need to distinguish whether it is apocarpus or syncarpus. In single, we need not follow this lead, apo or syncarpus. But if there are more than one carpel, you have to verify whether it is apo, whether it is fused or free. Okay, when it is free, see these 2 carpels, you can see carpel number 1 and carpel number 2 on the thalamus. Are they fused or free? They are free. So it is apocarpus. Free carpels are apocarpus. Now look at the next condition. Both are fused. No. Fused by the ovary, both are fused, only the style is separate and stigma is separate. So this is a syncarpus condition. And look at this condition, again fused, not only at the ovary they are fused, fused even at the style region, only at the stigma they are free, like our hibiscus. See, they are free, they are fused right from down, from the base itself, they are fused. That is, all the 5 ovaries are fused, all the 5 styles are fused, and only the stigma is free. So count the stigma to guess the number of carpels. So once again, what is apocarpus? Free carpels. Syncarpus, fused carpels. And usually in syncarpus condition, count the number of carpels not by dissecting, by counting the stigma. It will be lobulated at the top. Clear? I hope you have understood. Apo means free carpel. Look at this condition. Number 2 is indicating apocarpus, and syncarpus, number 3 and number 4 is depicting syncarpus, where it is fused. Either the ovary, all the ovaries are fused, or ovaries and styles are fused. Okay. So under syncarpus condition, remember to count the carpels, count the number of stigma. I hope the second lead is clear, and the third lead I have already dealt with. Third lead is whether it is hypogynous, perigynous and epigynous. I have already dealt with whether the ovary is superior, ovary is half inferior, half superior, or the ovary is inferior. That's already taken earlier. So there you can just put one of the option. Now these are the three leads coming under gynoecium, which is visible from the flower. Now the remaining three leads in the next template or next slide, the remaining three leads you can only see it only if you take a cross section through the ovary. If I take the case of hibiscus and cut the ovary, take very thin sections of the ovary and mount it under the microscope, I can see the ovary has some septa plural, and it divided the ovary into 5 locules, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locules. In hibiscus, when I dissect or when I take a very thin section through the ovary, I get the ovary with septa, dividing the ovary into 5 chambers or 5 locules. Okay, so you count the number of locules. So the first lead is count the number of locules. So in this case it is 5 locules, whereas in the picture I have depicted, how many locules are there? 1, 2, 3 locules. Now in this case how many locules? 1. In this case only 1 locule, 1 locule. So first lead is to count after dissecting or taking the section through the ovary. You have to count the number of locules, whether it's monolocular, bilocular, trilocular or polylocular. So count the number of locules. Next, inside the locules, the ovules are distributed. So with violet, with another color, say red color, I am distributing the ovules. See, 1, 2 in this, 1, 2 in this, again 2 ovules in this, 2 like grains, like rice grains they look. Now look at the ovules. Ovules are located. Now you count the number of ovules. So now when you count the number of ovules, in the first locule 2, second locule 2, third locule 2, fourth locule 2, fifth locule. So how many ovules are there in hibiscus? There are 10 ovules, 5 locules. I hope you have understood. 5 locules. In 5 locules there are 10 ovules. How are the ovules? 2 in each locule. Next you are determining how the ovules are located. So the next term is placentation. What is placentation? Very, very important. What is placentation? So the definition of placentation is arrangement of ovules in the ovary is called placentation. So once again I am repeating, what is placentation? It is the arrangement of ovules in the ovary. So now look at the arrangement of the ovules. See, look at the ovules. Where are they arranged? In the axil. They are arranged in the axil. So this placentation is called axial placentation. But before that, let me analyze the different types of placentation. We have axial placentation, parietal placentation, precentral placentation, basal placentation and marginal placentation. So let me start off with axial placentation. In axial placentation, definitely the ovary is divided into locules with the help of septum. See, in this case if I am saying it is divided into 3 locules. How many locules are there? 3 locules. So we have to definitely say it is loculated. The ovary is loculated. How it is loculated or multilocular? Because of the septum. And next point you are going to say the ovules. Where are the ovules located? The ovules are located, if I am drawing violet color here, the ovules are located in the axil of each locule. See, axil means angle. Then it is called axial placentation. So 2 points for axial placentation. The ovary is loculated, multilocular, say 3 locules or 5 locules or 2 locules. Anyway, it should be loculated. It should have locules. Next, the ovules are located at the axil of each locule and the angle of each locule. This is the axial placentation. Now next, I am going to central placentation. Central placentation is exactly same as axial placentation. See, I put 6 ovules. Put 6 ovules here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But the difference is that it is not loculated. So what you must say, it is monolocular. For central placentation, what you must say, it is not loculated. Or you must say it is monolocular with the ovules located at the center. You see now, ovules located at the center. So we are distributing 6 ovules in all. So see the way the 6 ovules are located, they are located at the center and they are not loculated. Clear? That is central. Now parietal from the name itself you must understand that the 6 ovules are located at the periphery. See, I am putting 2 here in the periphery, 2 here and 2 here. So this is called parietal placentation. Here also it is monoloculated or it is not divided into chambers. So you must say it is monolocular, having only one chamber with ovules located at the periphery. So I hope you have understood these three. These three are very simple or usually as compare and contrast. Axial placentation, what you must say, it is multilocular, where the ovules are arranged at the axil of each locule. Then in parietal, the ovules are located at the periphery and they are not loculated or they are monolocular, and in precentral also they are monolocular and the ovules are arranged at the center. So you understood when you compare you can understand the difference. Only in the first case or in axial condition it is loculated, either 3 locules or 4 locules or 5 locules, and the ovules are located at the axil of each locule. Whereas in the second case the ovules are located at the periphery of the monolocular ovary, and here it is located at the center of the monolocular ovary. Clear? Next, the fourth is basal. Here it has only one locule. See, one locule. The ovary has one locule with the one ovule at the base. Very simple. The ovary has only, it is monolocular and with one ovule at the base. Okay. So that is basal. And then marginal. Here marginal, look at this like the pea. When you open the pea pod or when you open the beans pod, how is it? You can see the seeds aligned at the ventral ridge. Same way you can see ovules are arranged, number of ovules, countless number of ovules arranged on a ventral ridge inside the ovary. And is it loculated? No, it is monolocular. So all are monolocular. So once again, marginal, the ovary is monolocular or it is not divided into septum or it is not divided into locules with the help of septum, and the ovules are arranged at the margin. Which margin? Is it the dorsal margin and the ventral margin, or only dorsal margin or only the ventral margin? No, it is located only on the ventral ridge. So once again I am making it clear, in the marginal placentation what you are saying, it is monolocular. That means the ovary is not divided by septum. It is monolocular and the ovules, a number of ovules are arranged at the margin. Which margin? On the ventral margin, on a ridge, slightly elevated portion, on a ventral ridge. Clear? So when you are talking about ventral, there is a dorsal side. Dorsal is free, but on the ventral ridge the ovules are located. So a quick recap of placentation. What is placentation? Arrangement of ovules in the ovary is called placentation. There are the following types: marginal placentation, axial placentation, parietal placentation, central placentation and basal placentation. Marginal placentation, the ovary is monolocular with a number of ovules arranged at the margin on a ventral ridge. Example, pea, all the legumes, pea, beans, etc. Then next, axial placentation, the ovary is divided by septa into locules. It can be trilocular, multilocular, pentalocular, number of locules, and inside the locules the ovules are arranged where at the axis. So that is axial placentation. Now coming to parietal, the ovary is not divided by septum into locules, so it is monolocular with the ovules arranged at the periphery. Precentral, the ovules are arranged at the center and it is not loculated or it is not divided by septum. Last we have one locule with one ovule located at the base. See, just one locule. So it is monolocular and one ovule which is located at the base. So these are the different types of placentation. So this template or this slide can be only observed after dissecting and taking a cross section of the ovary.